Hello and welcome to this week's edition of AAN News. I'm Lily Kim. A string of crimes in Chinatown alerted Chicago police to meet with the press. The police briefed the media with community alerts for several different crimes. AAN has more.
To increase the safety of the residents.
Community alerts are out for two men. One is wanted for trying to kidnap two young girls. The offender is described as being a black male between 25 to 30 years old with brown eyes and a black afro. He was last seen driving a dark brown Ford Econoline or Chevy S20 van with light brown curtains and a cartoon monkey on the spare tire. If you see him, call the police immediately.
But the man that I talked to, a Chinese victim, says he comes every day.
And a mail thief is on the loose. Neighbors said this man went around the neighborhood stealing mail to get your personal information to apply for credit cards.
A lot of people on 22nd Place have seen this man and say that he steals the mail. So if anyone got any, like a bunch of, like thousands of dollars charged with their name and they never opened the account, it's this man that's doing it. He's a male black. 32 years old, and he drives a black Land Rover with the license plate CORP 23.
Anyone who spotted him should call the postal police at 312-983-6283. Police and Homeland Security are warning Chicagoans of contraband cigarettes. Authorities said these fake cigarettes came from China.
Fake cigarette, you can buy a whole container. I talk about the truck container for about $50,000. They can sell it for like over $1 million just for one container because it's dirt cheap. Smoking already bad enough. And you're smoking something you don't know what it is. Someone told me they find newspaper in there when they buy cigarettes.
And some had made its way into local shops in Chinatown and other places too.
Way more than that. We find in Korean merchants, they also sell that in around the city also. We find it in some of the small Middle Easterners, those mom and pop stores, they also have those also. So this is a big problem.
Compared to real cigarettes, counterfeit ones cost half the price. That's why a lot of people are buying it simply because they're cheaper. But where does the money go to?
As far as the ATF and the Homeland Security guy told me that some of them, they might be traveling back to the terrorists, support the terrorists, or some of them, they even support some other organized crime activities.
Illegal sales of these cigarettes are also reported in New York, LA, and San Francisco. Those found selling contraband cigarettes could be fined up to $500 per cigarette.
This is tell the tourists not to give money.
Soon you will see this poster around town. They will be printed in English and Chinese to fight aggressive panhandling in the Chinatown area. This comes after an incident last week.
This is the guy arrested.
He spit in their face because they wouldn't give him any money.
They asked the girl for money.
They asked the girl for money.
Yeah.
But he got arrested.
This is a homeless guy?
Yes.
Ingrid Junada, AAN News.
Undocumented Asians are on the rise, especially in the Korean community. Many struggle to earn a living as they try to remain below the radar of immigration authorities. According to the Korean Resource Center in LA, there are roughly 180,000 undocumented Koreans now living in the U.S. According to Korea Daily, South Korea is listed as a major contributor to illegal immigration into America. With the hours winding down and elections right around the corner, this could be first Asian alderman is racing the clock. The Philippine-American candidate, if elected, would be the first Asian alderman for the city.
I believe in Asian American representation. I'm from Nepal, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and I believe that all the Asians are united.
And with another huge endorsement, this one from DL21C,
which is the Democratic leadership for the 21st century.
Dolar feels she's at top for the February elections.
I'm the strongest candidate in this race right now. We've got the people, we've got the energy, and we've got the spirit to make this happen.
Nacy Dolar is running for Chicago's 50th ward.
So what we have to do now is make sure that we bring in as many volunteers as we can to be a part of this campaign. And I'm talking to voters every single day and raising money every single day to make sure that we can send a message to the entire community that it's time for a change and it's time for a new voice on City Council.
Current Alderman Bernie Stone has held the position for over 30 years, and some residents are ready for change.
What we have now is not adequate. It has been there for 33 years, and the last 20 years have been stagnating.
He's not interested in his constituents. I see a lot of vacant stores on Toohey and on Devon Avenue.
Within the last 30 years that I've lived here, I've seen a steady decline of some key areas in our neighborhood. Issues of safety, education, business development, business renewal, particularly on Toohey Avenue as well as Devon Avenue. And I believe that we all deserve efficient and respectful city services throughout the entire ward.
Senator John McCain, who had an unsuccessful run for his party nomination in 2000, is now taking several steps toward the 2008 presidential election. Illinois House of Representatives and McCain's chairman, Jim Durkin, met with the Asian press to give his endorsement.
But Steve gave
House of Representatives Jim Durkin spoke to the Asian press to promote John McCain's presidential nomination.
He's an American. He believes in this country. He believes that that we need to take responsible steps towards addressing some of these concerns internationally.
The Asian Advisory Council invited the Illinois rep to Solga Restaurant.
Right now, what we're really trying to do is to have more political involvement within the Asian American community in the state of Illinois. That in itself is a task, and we're focused on that, voter registration, and really I think what we're trying to do is becoming the link between the Asian American community and Republican state leaders, and form that link and have an understanding of both sides.
Illinois, which usually sways left, will be a tough battleground for John McCain, who's also up against State Senator Barack Obama.
And Illinois is going to be very important now that the legislature will be moving up the primary date to February 5th. So Illinois will now be a battleground state, which has never been in the past. So Illinois will be a significant player.
Durkin reiterated the Republican nomination's appeal for the American people.
He has bipartisan appeal.
But he mostly supports John McCain, well, because
he's my friend.
The Guinness Book of World Records just crowned the world's oldest person. Yoni Minigawa woke up in her nursing home to a poster that read, "Congratulations, you're number one." It took the 114-year-old of Japanese descent a few minutes to figure out what was going on. But in time, in her strong southern Japanese accent, she said, "Number one, who, me? I'm really grateful." Minigawa was born January 4th, 1893. Preparations for the biggest Chinese New Year performance hits a snag. The event sponsor in Chicago said they've been harassed by the Chinese government. Our Ingrid Yanada has the 411.
Now, you can experience the power, the majesty, the myths, and the legends firsthand at the Chinese New Year.
This will be the second year the Chinese New Year Spectacular performed in the Windy City. But their ticket hotline numbers was flooded not by eager fans, but recorded messages from China.
It's a lot of noise.
The message is not clear, but it's enough to make it impossible for Chicagoans to call in for tickets.
The show is produced by independent media, Chinese language media in the United States, that they produce uncensored news information about China. Basically, the Chinese government is afraid of any independent voice. So they want to shut our voice.
Officer Mary Chen was then called to the scene to take a police report.
Epoch Times has supported Falun Gong in the past, has published articles about them, supporting them, and the Chinese government is not pleased with this. They do not want any bad publicity about what they do to people that try to practice democracy, and the people in the United States that support them. The Chinese government in the past have tried to hurt them, and this is the one way of hurting them right now, is to make this event unsuccessful so that people cannot call to order tickets and go to this event and learn more about, their activities.
In one phone line, they got over 120 calls in one night. But that's not all. Their offices in Houston and Boston also complained of the same thing. And in South Korea, their show was called off because of pressure from the Chinese embassy.
3 days before the scheduled show time in early January, the producer and the host of the show received unilateral cancellation from National Theater of Korea. Since they are pressured by the Chinese embassy in Korea, telling them to cancel our show. And so our show has to be canceled because in 3 days it's no way to find another theater.
There isn't much they could do, but Liu said the show must go on.
We support free flow of information, we support democracy, and we expose the persecution and other oppressions in China. And the Chinese government should not stop us, and they cannot stop us.
Ingrid Yanada, AAN News.
Still to come, see why hundreds of Indians of Chicagoland gathered for this one event. Our Ingrid Yanada will reveal one mother's plight for her son's right, and will take you into one wild tropical exhibit with never before seen marine life. All up next on AAN. The Federation of Indian Associations welcomed their new leader in their annual gala. The event was also in celebration of India's Republic Day, which fell on January 27th. AAN has this on the festivity.
The Lord be with me.
Longtime Chicago resident Iftikhar Sharif will succeed Babu Patel as president of the city's Federation of Indian Association. Sharif has been involved with the association for 10 years. Now he's taking the reins to a whole new vision.
Yeah, FI is generally known to do the biggest event, which is the India Day Parade and the Republic Day celebration and hosting the ministers and so forth. But this year, we have a different vision. We would like to take up the like a watchdog group, whereby we will be taking the immigration issues, whether it is abuse to the Indian family, whether it is neglected kid, and but mostly in immigration and the civil rights and other smaller things which are being usually neglected.
Outgoing President Patel welcomed the new leader, and although he will remain active in the association's advisory council, he had these words to say.
I like to tell Mr. Sharif and his executive committee of 2007 to make it sure they reach out the community and not to create any differences. There will be a lot of time will come. They have to make hard decision, tough decision between friend and decision. Decision comes for the community. You take that decision and put the friend on a side at that time.
Hundreds of Indian Americans showed up at the banquet, highlighted by Indian dances like this peacock dance. And of course, a feast. Chicago's FIA is part of a national federation established in 1980 to unite Indians in the U.S. Ingrid Yanada, AAN News.
Comedy duo John Cho and Cal Penn are in another run with Harold and Kumar 2. The sequel set in motion on the same morning Harold and Kumar finally satisfy their White Castle crave, but the object this time is Harold Kumar's affection for a woman who takes the two off to Amsterdam. But when a nervous airplane passenger mistakes Kumar for a terrorist, the plane is rerouted and the boys are off on a new escapade and pursued by Homeland Security. The sequel is to be released 2008. All the way from the Philippines, one Chicago museum houses this one exclusive exhibit. AAN takes you into the wild reef at the Shedd Aquarium. Only 5 inches of glass separate you from these sharks. 400,000 gallons of water and never before seen marine life and wild reef, all straight from the Philippines. We based this exhibit off of Apo Island, the world's richest aquatic ecosystem. And to keep wild reef at the Shedd Aquarium as authentic as possible, our staff went down to the Philippines to study and make sure that we were telling the true story of this island. And then we also had several members of the Filipino community come to Shedd and help us design and tell the story of this through this exhibit. Built underground, the Wild Reef exhibit cost the Shedd about $40 million, and visitors can't get enough of the Asian water life. When the exhibit opened in 2003, the Shedd Aquarium received over 2 million visitors. Now, just a few years later, visitation is just as strong, and you can see exactly why. We have several tropical fish that can be found from the Philippines. We have some fun frogfish. We just have tons of different sharks and animals from tropical waters. The Shedd Aquarium is open 7 days a week, 9 to 5 on weekdays, 9 to 6 on the weekends. Wild Reef is a permanent exhibit, only the second addition to the Shedd's 73-year history. Students of One Asian American Leadership Institute has a conference in store. It's called Building a Better Foundation. It's a Pan-Asian conference intended for high school students to discuss and explore different facets of the Asian American experience while preparing their transition into college. The convention will be held February 24th at the University of Texas at Austin. For more information, visit www.utasiansonline.com/BFA. In this cold winter weather, police are finding lost senior citizens, many of them disoriented, and it's been difficult to get them back home. Chicagoland police are urging seniors to get with this program. It's the Emergency Identification Bracelet Program, a spandex bracelet that includes the senior citizen's district of residence and a 4-digit personal ID number.
And I suggest that we get it out to all the seniors, especially the ones that don't speak English, because I run across so many seniors out there that get lost and they can't tell me their address.
The ID number reveals important information of the registered senior that only the police can access. The emergency identification bracelet costs $6. All you have to do is go to any police station and fill out a form. The bracelets have saved lives.
Usually it's late 60s or 70s. They don't remember. Sometimes they don't even remember their name. They don't remember their family. They don't know where they live.
And Officer Chan advises all seniors to get with this program.
If you know somebody who lives alone, you know, there are seniors that don't come in contact with a lot of people, tell them about the program to get a bracelet, because if they ever get lost or get in an accident or anything, at least we could find their family.
A mother's plight brought dozens to a public forum at the Japanese American Citizens League. Carolyn Ho is the proud mother of Lieutenant Watada. Watada grabbed headlines last summer when he refused to be deployed to Iraq. AAN's Ingrid Yanada has the details on her visit to the JACL.
Does a soldier have the right to refuse a command because of his conscience?
If I am to be punished, it should be for following the rule of law over the immoral orders of one man. If I am to be punished, it should be for not acting sooner.
In June of last year, U.S. Army First Lieutenant Aaron Watada became the first officer to refuse deployment to the Iraq War, a war he believed was illegal. And because of this, the 28-year-old faced a court-martial today and possibly years of imprisonment.
Well, I feel that what he is doing is the right thing, and he's being labeled a criminal. But you know, I consider the source. I don't have a lot of respect for the source because of the manner in which justice is set up in a military court. And so I really don't give a lot of credence to what they're saying, because I know what he's doing is right.
Carolyn Ho had been on a long odyssey of countless speaking engagements and public forums around the country, all done for her son's sake.
I'm okay with that. I don't think that I've gotten to the point where I'm so exhausted and overwhelmed that I can't go on. And I think it keeps me going, basically, because I think it's healthier to focus on the present, on the now, rather than on the court-martial that's scheduled for February 5th. And I I don't believe that, that's the end. It's not over until it's over, just like they say about ball games.
Lieutenant Aaron Watada was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. In the post-9/11 era, Watada joined the Army where he did much research on the Iraq War and came to the conclusion that the war was illegal.
What if our elected leaders become the enemy? Whose orders do we follow? The answer is conscience that lies in each soldier or service member, each American, and each human being. Thank you all.
Ingrid Yanada, AAN News.
Thank you for choosing AAN, your Asian news leader. If you have any story ideas or would like to write us, email us at AAN41Chicago@AOL.com. Catch our rebroadcast Tuesday mornings at 8 and tune in next Monday night. If you like the concept of customizing your meal at a Mongolian barbecue restaurant, see what One Shoe Company has in store. I'm Lily Kim. Thank you and see you next time.